Part 122. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu. Chapter 1211. Ha ha ha. You are afraid. You are afraid. You must be afraid, right? I knew it. I knew it had to be. You can't. You really can't. If you're cowardly, kneel down and beg me. Maybe I'll let you go as soon as my heart softens. Jianming roared wantonly, getting closer and closer on the road to death. Idiot. Fang Fan called out directly. Since you want to sign, then sign it. God's contract. Establish. Fang Fan said lightly. Then make a contract quickly. My heavenly sword palace's young palace master sword life. Voluntarily make a contract with the gods. If you violate this contract, you will be punished by the gods. Fang Fan, the master of the imperial palace, made a contract with the gods. If this contract is violated, the sky will be bombarded by thunder and the divine way will collapse. If Fang Fan is purely vicious, he will curse with whatever. It's the same ending anyway. Ding. A trace of divine intrusion was detected, and the system turned on antivirus mode. Ding. Divine power has been absorbed by the system. Ding. This contract will have no binding force on the host. The sound of the system sounded in his ears. Fang Fan shrugged, and his face didn't matter. He is the insulator of the contract. Any contract is the same to him. Isn't Fang Fan a little too impulsive? He actually made a contract of God with the young palace master of Tianjian Palace to gamble. Although the master sword life of the young palace of Tianjian Palace is a bit playful, but after all, he is a person from Tianjian Palace. He stays with various swords all day long, and his ability to inspire the sword is naturally stronger. Although that Fang Fan has repeatedly achieved outstanding achievements, I have never seen him use any high-level sword moves. Even if he uses a sword as a weapon, I am afraid it is just a matter of convenience. And this bet is indeed a bit big. If it fails, it will really die directly. The cool moonlight is practicing. This feeling, so unique. If you don't sign the contract of God, you can still violate the contract. Now that the contract of God has been signed, if you violate the contract, you will have to pay a huge price. Anyway, I think it's just a little too impulsive. It's really not good. The scene seemed very lively for a while. A group of cultivators gathered around and sighed with emotion, feeling that Fang Fan's actions were a little too anxious. Husband. Why did you make a bet with that guy? There's no need for that. People in Tianjian Palace must know some sword control secrets. With a worried look on Chen Tianji's face, he grabbed Fang Fan's arm and said. So what's the matter? Since I dared to respond, I didn't take him seriously. Fang Fan smiled slightly, and then greeted everyone to prepare to climb the sword tomb. 9 layers of sword tombs, 1 layer is stronger than 1 layer. The higher the level of the sword mound, the greater the chance of being able to obtain the high-level sword. Of course, this is not absolute. If you climb the 9th floor of the sword mound, but you can't pull out those divine swords, it is relatively meaningless and worthless. In general, it is necessary not only to ascend to the corresponding rank of the sword mound, but also to have the strength and confidence to draw a sword. The divine sword has a spirit. If you really want to follow you from now on, you may not need to draw the sword, it will jump out on its own. Of course, this is only a possibility, and the real situation remains to be discussed. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu. Chapter 1212. The sword mound is very large and magnificent, and it is not even a problem to accommodate hundreds of thousands of people at one time. The lower the level, the more swords you have, but the competition will be fiercer. Above the sword mound, There are thousands of divine swords, but here there are hundreds of thousands of practitioners from the 4 major third-grade forces alone. Coupled with the practitioners of other major forces, there are more than 1 million. Beside Wanbao Lake, fighting is not allowed, but above the sword mound, there is no such rule. Fighting has become the norm, especially on the first floor. For the sake of a 1-star Emperor level longsword, it is possible to kill directly. Hundreds of thousands of practitioners died for this. As soon as you succeed, your bones will die. That's probably what it feels like. Dead people have become extremely common here. And the higher you get to the top, in fact, the competition gradually decreases a lot. Because most cultivators can only stay on the first floor, and are not qualified to continue to climb up, this floor is their starting point, but also the end point. There are even many practitioners who can't even cross the first floor. From this point of view, it is indeed not an easy task to obtain a high-level sword in the sword mound. The name of Chen Tian Sword Tomb, interesting. Fang Fan smiled slightly, his eyes twinkled brightly. This challenge is based on the present. Fight to the end, Fang De has always been. This time, in order to maximize the benefits, Fang Fan specially brought all the legions, pets and heroes under his command. What if you can get a good sword? Anyway, they are all prostitutes. If you think about it this way, you will feel that this feeling is very cool. There is no pressure to enter the first floor of the sword tomb. Basically, anyone who has reached the real king level can enter. Chen Tianqi said silently on the side, and even talked about the magnitude of the resistance. Fang Fan squinted his eyes secretly for a moment. Resistance, does it really exist? Why didn't he feel anything when he came in just now? Did he feel wrong? Or is there really something tricky here? Fang Fan's eyes swept around the surroundings, and asked carefully. Most people said they felt a tinge of resistance, albeit insignificant, but it was there. But only Vega and Galen said they felt nothing. This is definitely not an accident. Maybe there is something special about Vega and Garen and even me. Fang Fan pondered to himself, his eyes narrowed slightly. What we have in common is, we all have gods. Fang Fan's eyes lit up, and then he silently clenched his fists. The excitement on his face was very real. Galen will always be the 9th rank god of heaven, the jailer of heaven. Vega has the 8th rank god of judgment, and I have the god of wild god. The 3 of us have a god position in our body. Although we have never had the power of a true god, but this kind of aura is here. Maybe there are many conveniences in the sword tomb. Fang Fan pondered to himself, although he felt a little weird, but now it seems that he can only explain it like this. Continue to cross, try it. Fang Fan waved his hand and led the crowd to the second floor of the sword tomb. The resistance of this layer is probably the 1-star Emperor level, so generally, the cultivators below the 1-star Emperor level are basically brushed. Chen Tianqi felt it, and then said. The number of people on the second floor is not even 1/10 of the first floor. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 1213. This is already the case on the second floor of the sword tomb, and when it reaches the third and fourth floor of the sword tomb, this situation will be more serious. In this way, it divides the crowd. Fang Fan narrowed his eyes, and there was a bright light in his eyes. More than 1 million practitioners, and finally less than 100,000 people came to the second floor. Those cultivators from Chasing Soul Pavilion, Xiling Palace, and Motion Pavilion are also blocked on the first floor and cannot come up. Fang Fan's eyes swept around, secretly showing a contemplative look. The swords on the second floor are just some 4-star Emperor level to 6-star Emperor level swords, and they are relatively not very good. If you want a good sword, you need to continue to climb. Follow me to continue climbing the sword tomb. Fang Fan gave an order, and everyone stepped forward. The third floor, the resistance of the 2-star Emperor level, I can't hold it anymore. Zi Ling's complexion changed for a while, knowing that in the Chentian secret realm, their levels were suppressed at the 1-star Emperor level, and it was not easy to be able to resist the pressure of the 2-star Emperor level with a 1-star Emperor level cultivation base. 90% of the cultivators were screened out again this round. There are less than 10,000 practitioners who have climbed to the third floor at this moment. Fang Fan secretly condensed. The current situation has become very clear. The higher the level of the sword tomb, the higher the level of the divine sword that can be obtained, and the greater the pressure. Zi Ling, on the third floor of the sword tomb, all of them are 7-star to 9-star divine swords. From time to time, there will be 1 or 2 10-star Emperor level divine swords, which is already very good. If you can't support the 1-star Emperor level cultivator, you can get the divine sword here. Fang Fan's eyes swept around and asked Shen Ran. The top 10 legionnaires did not have the slightest adverse reaction. Among the 4 god pets, Kunpeng Biming and Dark Knight Kylin had already stayed on the 2nd floor of the sword tomb. Although Kunpeng Biming and Dark Knight Kylin were only in the real king realm, but it was a miracle to be able to withstand the pressure of the 1-star Emperor level on the 2nd floor of the sword tomb. But it doesn't stop there. On the 3rd floor of the sword tomb, they couldn't climb up at all. Fang Fan's eyes glanced around. Zi Ling and Yun Yun obviously couldn't hold it. Besides, most of the elites of the Chen Tian clan who were behind Chen Tianqi couldn't bear it either. Xiao Xiao, how are you? Fang Fan's eyes turned to Yun Xiao Xiao. She had also been promoted to the 1-star Emperor realm at this moment, but it seemed that there was no pressure at the moment. I'm fine. I felt a little sick when I first came in, but now I don't feel anything. Yun Xiao Xiao shook her head and said with a smile. Fang Fan was silent. One more miracle. It's just that Yun Xiao Xiao never had any divine status. Could it be because of Xiaoxio's slaughtering spirit body? Fang Fan nodded secretly, thinking that this possibility is still relatively large. Okay. Then this layer of Zi Ling and Xiao Xiao will stay. The unbearable cultivators of the Chen Tian clan also stayed. Fang Fan began to make allocations. At this moment, although Chen Tianqi's complexion is a little red, he can still hold on. Continue. A gleam of light flashed in Fang Fan's eyes, and he directly stepped into the 4th floor of the sword tomb. There are tens of thousands of people on the 3rd floor. On the 4th floor of the sword tomb, there are only 500 or 600 people left. Fang Fan said with a smile to himself. The pressure on the 4th floor is the 3-star Emperor level. Husband, I can't take it anymore. Chen Tianqi's complexion became slightly flushed, and at the same time, the elites of the Chen Tian clan behind Chen Tianqi also became shaky. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Xu Yu. Chapter 1214. Obviously, this is their limit. Now that I've reached this limit, I can't hold it anymore, it's normal. It is not easy to be able to resist the pressure of the 3-star Emperor level with 1-star Emperor level combat power. I didn't expect that my 10 major legions, 6 heroes, Xiao Jinlong Ao Guang, Hell's 3-headed dog Roaring Sky, and even Yu Xiao Xiao would hold on. They still have the ability to continue climbing. Fang Fan nodded secretly, feeling quite relieved. Continue to climb towards the top of the sword tomb, the more precious the divine sword you get. Ha ha ha. You can't stand it anymore. Fang Fan. I already said, don't fight with me. Do you feel proud to be on the 4th floor of the sword tomb? Excited? I tell you. The so-called 4th floor of the sword tomb is no pressure for me. I can climb even higher. This is my starting point, and it's your end. Ha ha ha. Give it up. I already feel the holy sword calling me. Fang Fan. You are finished. You are completely finished. When I win the holy sword, you will kneel and commit suicide. I don't think you should be so clean and decisive in committing suicide at this moment, rather than losing face at that time. Tianjian Palace's young palace master Jianming came with a group of Tianjian Palace practitioners, and his eyes were full of madness. As a member of Tianjian Palace, there is a tacit understanding with the sword, which is the advantage of Jianming. Relying on this advantage, at this moment, he has deduced the unruly to the extreme. Snapped. A loud slap sounded to stop the frantic barking. I've never seen such a lowly person. Fang Fan commented indifferently. In general, only the humble and weak will bark around like a mad dog. Good dog, out of the way, get out of the way. It's really noisy. Fang Fan pouted, just like self-expression. Chatter, chatter is not over yet. Think this is fun? Don't you feel your scalp is tingling? Jianming felt the pain on his face, and his face was instantly twisted. He was beaten. Was beaten hard. Bastard. This bastard. Hit him again. It's just that he didn't have time to stop it just now. His speed, too fast, too fast. Fang Fan, who has comprehended the power of the 9 laws, has not yet entered the realm of the emperor, but with the power of the 9 laws, without relying on the laws of the pistol, he can also cause a full range of crit and damage. There is absolutely no problem in hanging the 1-star emperor realm. Kill. Kill him. Kill him for me. Why are you all still in ink? Didn't you hear my order? I asked you to kill him. Kill Fang Fan to me. Jianming made a Hestian roar, and his face became extremely sinister. Young palace master, think again, we only have 300 people in our hands. The devil army opposite is still there. We have to restrain. If that devil army launches an attack, we may not be enough to shoot one round. A cultivator from Tianjian Palace hurriedly stepped forward and reminded him that the devil army he was talking about was naturally the Law light machine gunner army under Fang Fan's command. With a light machine gun in hand, who can withstand this? Jianming's body trembled, his hands were clenched tightly, his nails were deep in the flesh and blood, and he didn't care at all when the bright blood came out. One can imagine his anger at the moment. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 1215. But no matter how angry he was, he didn't dare to choose to attack, because he was cowardly, he was afraid that he would die before he started. Humph. Anyway, the contract of God has already been signed. As long as I get a divine sword with a higher level than yours, you must kneel and commit suicide. If that's the case, why are you fighting me? You are destined to be a dead end. Yes. He must be so crazy to stimulate me because he knows his death situation. If it looks like this, then I can't be fooled by him, otherwise, wouldn't it really be terminated? The eyes of Jianming, the master of the young palace of Tianjian Palace, flickered in bursts of light. Thinking this way in his heart, the smile on his face became more and more, and then he strode out, without any hesitation. For him, there is not much meaning and value in continuing. The climbing journey continues. Lord, I feel that I can't continue to climb the 5th floor, I choose to give up. Na Yan on the side hesitated again and again, then stepped forward and said. In the 4th level, he already felt a strong sense of oppression, but he was a little unwilling and wanted to continue to climb. After thinking about it for a long time, he felt that he should not overestimate himself. No, even if it doesn't work, it doesn't do you any good to hold on to it. No. You don't have to give up. Please wait a moment. Fang Fan silently took out the conferred god list and directly found the heavenly secret star disciple. Because of the lack of God's source power, the imperial seal has been delayed for a long time. But now he holds 1,000 strands of God's source power, which is equivalent to 100,000 strands of God's source power, which is more than enough. Na Yan blinked, a curious look in his eyes. He didn't know what the Lord meant for him to wait at this time. Hold your breath, concentrate. Fang Fan looked at Na Yan with a serious look on his face, and there was a flash of light in his eyes. Edict the heavenly secret star disciple God. Ding. The power of faith is insufficient, the seal failed. When the system sound came, Fang Fan was shocked. Failed. Insufficient power of faith? This. Ding. You can choose to use the source of God to exchange for the power of faith. A trace of the source of God can exchange for 10,000 traces of the power of faith. Ding. Please choose whether to exchange. Fang Fan pondered silently. It's really leaking everywhere. I finally made up for the deficit of the source of God's power, but I didn't expect the power of faith to go wrong again. When Wei Jiao was appointed as the judge of the underworld before, he had already spent 50 million strands of the power of faith, almost draining the power of faith that Fang Fan had accumulated. If it is necessary to regroup now, it is unlikely that it will not take a year or a half. Exchange it? Ding. Consumed 47,000 silks of God's source power, and successfully exchanged 470 million silks of faith power. Ding. Start the seal. Ding. Consuming 50,000 threads of God's source power and 500 million threads of faith power, the 7th level celestial secrets and stars were successfully sealed. With the success of the seal, an item similar to Sinan appeared in Na Yan's hand. Fang Fan didn't pay much attention, and looked directly at the introduction to the gods of Tianji Seeing Disciple. Tianji Seeing Disciple, 7th level god position, exclusive artifact Sinan. Deity Special Effect 1, you can use Sinan to predict future good and bad luck, predict the location of treasures, and predict the enemy's weakness. Divine Position Special Effect 2, activate the power of heaven, double the combat power of the designated target, and at the same time reduce the combat power of the other designated target by half. The duration is 10 minutes, and the cooling period is 3 days. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 1216. Seeing the introduction, Fang Fan's eyes gradually changed. This effect is very powerful. The exclusive artifact Sinan is even stronger to burst. Predicting good and bad luck seems a little illusory, but predicting treasures, predicting the weaknesses of the enemy, these are all real benefits. When looking for it, take out Sinan, and you will definitely be the winner of the treasure hunt. When fighting against a strong enemy, the weakness is exposed and invincible, and it is directly blocked. Fang Fan secretly smiled, his eyes became more and more condensed. If this is the case, it is simply a battle master. In addition, there is a stronger point is the power of the second special effect of the gods. Reduce the combat power of the designated target by half, and increase the combat power of the other designated target by 1 time. As soon as this improvement is reduced, it is equivalent to the enemy being reduced by 4 times. Although there is a 3-day cooling period, it is destined to not be used often, but it is already very strong. Fang Fan nodded secretly, the 50,000 threads of God's source power, no, to be precise, the 100,000 threads of God's source power has no white flowers. After all, it took nearly 50,000 threads of God's source power to exchange nearly 500 million of the power of faith before. After going back and forth like this, the 1,000 strands of God's source power he had obtained in the first round of Wanbao Lake's treasure hunt were almost emptied. I thought that 1,000 strands of God's source power could be used for a while, but I didn't expect it to disappear like this. Fang Fan shrugged, but he didn't feel much pity. He would naturally be stronger if he had a celestial star to help out. My lord, me, what's the matter with me? I've become a god. Na Yan opened his mouth, and his body began to tremble unnaturally. As he spoke, there was a flash of light in his eyes, which was extremely unbelievable. This wave of operations, he really didn't understand. But at the moment, this feeling of surprise in my heart seems very real. Become a god. This is an irresistible temptation for any practitioner. For a long time, Na Yan just thought that he was a bit unique and could predict good and bad luck to a certain extent. But becoming a god, this is a dream he never dared to dream in his life. It's just an empty god position. If you want to become a real god, you still need to cultivate yourself. But the existence of a god can really save you a lot of detours. Fang Fan smiled and said calmly. But don't reveal the matter of your celestial secret, star disciple, god position, just understand it yourself. Before becoming a true god, everything must be kept low-key. Fang Fan specially reminded that if it is too ostentatious, it is very likely that something will happen. Understood, I understand. Thank you, Lord. The grace of the Lord's decree is unforgettable. It is the greatest honor of my life to be able to follow you. Na Yan knelt down on one knee, his eyes full of excitement. Get up, it's time for us to continue climbing the sword tomb. Getting a precious divine sword is your best reward for me. Fang Fan smiled slightly, then patted Na Yan on the shoulder and said. Na Yan nodded heavily, and he had already made up his mind, in this life, he must swear allegiance to the death. My lord, I can't feel the pressure of the sword mound now. How is this possible? Na Yan took 2 steps forward, and the whole person was in a state of shock. You must know that he was still unbearable just now, and he even gave up and continued to climb to the 5th floor of the sword tomb. Now, what's going on? Divine system of the strongest card supplier in the end times, Doomsday strongest card supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 1217. You have now possessed the divine position of Tianji Xing disciple, and the divine position has helped you offset this pressure, so don't be too surprised. Fang Fan smiled slightly and reminded from the side. So that's how it is. Na Yan nodded secretly, but the shock in his eyes was still very strong. Keep climbing. Fang Fan waved his hand, and then he strode forward, preparing to go directly to the 5th floor of the sword tomb. At this moment, on the 5th floor of the sword tomb, Jianming led dozens of Tianjian Palace practitioners here. That Fang Fan hasn't come up yet. Haha, it must have been eliminated. It's a miracle that he can reach the 4th floor of the sword tomb just like that, and he wants to continue climbing. Is it possible? It's just beyond his own ability. And I still have the motivation to keep sprinting forward. The Xian sword can only be mine. I am the heaviest king. Whoever dares to stop me will die. Jianming raised his head arrogantly. At this moment, he felt that there must be countless people touting him, and he seemed a little flirtatious. Master of the Young Palace, Master of the Young Palace. Suddenly, a hurried shout came, and Jianming couldn't help frowning. What's going on? If it's a big deal, I'm just yelling. Is there any sense of proportion? I didn't tell you, don't panic when you encounter things, it's not a big deal. Jianming held his head high and his chest was full of wanton, and he looked very arrogant from beginning to end. Tell me what's going on. Jianming felt that he was pretending to be enough, and then said casually. Young Palace Master, see for yourself. The practitioners of Tianjian Palace spread their hands helplessly, and then pointed to the distance. Jianming glanced at random, and then his eyes instantly widened. How is this possible? This is impossible. This is the 5th floor of the sword tomb. It has a 4-star emperor level sword pressure control. If it is not for the practitioners who have been cultivating swords all the year round, they can't resist this pressure. In the secret realm of Chen-Tien, everyone is in the realm of the 1-star emperor. Only a genius of genius can step into this place. There are only 7 or 8 out of the nearly 100,000 elites of the third-rank forces of such a person. Our Tianjian palace has a little more because of the sword repair, but it can't be so many. Jianming gritted his teeth and said that Fang Fan was surrounded by more than 100 people, which was similar to what he saw on the 4th floor of Jian Tomb. You must know that the total number of their 4 major third-grade forces entering the 5th floor of the Sword Tomb is only 60 or 70. In addition to the Tianya Chamber of Commerce and some cultivators from scattered forces, the total number is no more than 100. Now the number of cultivators under Fang Fan has crushed them. What kind of perverts are these? Are they all sword saints? Sword gods? Jianming took a breath, his face flushed red, and his eyes gradually showed a look of jealousy. So jealous. This feeling, very uncomfortable. Very upset. This guy is really weird. In the direction of the Tianya Chamber of Commerce, the cold version of Sikong Yuxin's eyes flashed with the cold light of Dawson. It is only by the divine power bestowed by the true God that I can resist the oppressive force of these sword qi. And that Fang Fan, what power does he rely on? The most important thing is, those guards under his command are not afraid at all. 1 person or 2 people may be an accident. More than 100 together, it's too weird. Divine system of the strongest card supplier in the end times, Doomsday strongest card supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 1218. Sikong Yuxin's indifferent eyes couldn't help revealing a strange look, then she licked her lips, clenched her fists with both hands, killing intent Ling Ran. She felt that Fang Fan had more and more significance and value in research. There must be a great secret hidden here. A crowd of melon eaters stood on the 1st floor of the sword mound and looked up at the big men at the upper level, and at this moment, they were unparalleled with envy. The 5th floor. There are already intermediate level quasi-sacred artifacts in there. I'm so jealous. You are jealous. That's the battlefield of the boss. You go up. You dare to go up? Do you have this qualification? The strongest is Fang Fan. Among all the forces, Fang Fan has the fewest guards, but he has the largest number of people on the 5th floor. He hangs hundreds of families with the power of 1 family. Is this the strength of the boss? Sure enough, I can't wait for ordinary people to predict. How did the gap come from? Do you really have no points in your heart? So it looks like Fang Fan's subordinates are all that kind of genius. Hey. But the 5th floor is almost at its peak. It is said that the 5th floor of the sword mound already has the pressure of the sword energy of the 4-star emperor realm. In the Chen-Tien secret realm, the strongest is only the 1-star emperor realm battle. Strength, no matter how strong it is, there must be a limit. Well, it's true, I don't believe that Fang Fan can bring so many people with him when he reaches the 6th floor. Hee, that's impossible. I don't know what level Fang Fan can reach in the end. I look forward to. In this comparison, the Tianjian Palace, which specializes in swords, seems to be rubbish. Hey, isn't it a long way? By the way, it seems that Jianming, the master of Tianjian Palace's young palace, has made a bet with Fang Fan, who will win the final divine sword. At first, I thought Fang Fan was a little too impulsive. Now it seems, that's not the case at all. I know about that bet, but the loser will commit suicide on his knees. There's a good show to watch, although we can't compare to those big guys. It's not bad to be a melon eater. Among the sword mounds, the pinnacle of life. At this moment, the swords on the 1st floor, the 2nd floor, and even the 3rd floor have almost been pulled out, so the sound of the fight at the beginning is naturally gone. replaced by the sound of gossip. Cultivators gathered together one by one and watched the battles of the upper-level cultivators. Fang Fan. Are you cheating? That's why so many people under your command have reached the 5th floor of the Sword Tomb. Spirit of Sword Tomb. Spirit of Lake Marble. I protest. I protest. Someone cheated. Ji Unming roared directly, he couldn't stand this grievance. If it goes on like this, he is angry. He is angry. He wants to start a killing spree. Only in this way can he calm down his excited heart a little bit. The protest has been received. Start surveying. Suddenly, an ethereal voice came from the sky above the sword mound, which was exactly the same as the voices made by the gods before. Fang Fan squinted his eyes secretly. It seems that the spirit of Wanbao Lake has his own sanity. But this is not surprising. There are so many treasures here, and the owner who built Wanbao Lake must be a genius. At this level, it is not a big deal to cultivate a few wise souls. If the protest is effective, reward. If you protest against false accusations, you will be punished. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 1219. The ethereal voice sounded, and everyone's eyes gradually showed a color of Psi. This operation is very powerful. True God has appeared. He accepted my protest. I will be rewarded endlessly. Will the true God give me a holy sword directly? Ha ha ha. Cool. Cool. Tianjian Palace's young palace master Ji Unming thought so in his heart, and the excited expression on his face became more and more exciting. He believes that he has mastered the real hammer evidence to show that Fang Fan must be cheating. As everyone knows, in fact, there are still punishments in the back. Of course, Ji Unming has no time to take care of these at this moment, and he is only thinking about those rewards when he is overwhelmed by the interests. If you can kill Fang Fan when you get these rewards, it will be perfect. Fang Fan. You are dead. Do you think that you can really get to the top by relying on those crooked methods? Hee, you think too much. You're cold this time. You're really cold. The real body is revealed. How dare you be arrogant? Ji Unming held his head high, with a proud look on his face. Fang Fan looked at Ji Unming with the eyes of mental retardation. This guy, he's quite cute. Still complacent here at the end of death? What is there to say? You can still live if you do evil in the sky, but you can't live if you do it by yourself. Like Ji Unming, it is completely subordinate to the type of self-inflicted sin. All I can say is that he was indeed dying and he didn't know how to repent, so he really didn't know what was going on in his mind. Boss Fang Fan doesn't really cheat, right? Hey, without cheating, do you think so many people can climb to the 5th floor of the Sword Tomb? You must know that the 5th floor of the Sword Tomb has the pressure of a 4-star emperor. It's true, it looks like this, but it's really killing. The real spirit of Wanbao Lake didn't pay attention before. It doesn't matter how you tossed it, but now it's coming. I'm afraid it won't be so easy to solve this time. The cool moonlight. Hateful. If I had found out that Fang Fan was cheating earlier, wouldn't these rewards be mine? Wanbao Lake's rewards must be very rich. You. It's not that I look down on you, even if you really know and find out, so what? I really thought I had the courage. That's Fang Fan. If there is a little error, the true spirit of Wanbao Lake will not be obliterate you, Fang Fan will definitely kill you completely. That's it, and the devil army under the command of Fang Fan, they are too strong. The fireworks that sprayed, I still remember it fresh. Huh, if I hadn't run fast, it would have been cold at that time. It's terrible. I really got my life back. This is all a competition between the big guys, we don't want to mix it, and we can't mix it. Look, the real spirit of Wanbao Lake has descended with divine power. Waves of crazy shouts came, and everyone's eyes focused directly on Fang Fan, and the excitement on his face was beyond words. In their eyes, the so-called Wanbao Lake true spirit is definitely a mysterious existence, and it is even the arm of the great true God. Being able to have the opportunity to see these is naturally a very worthy thing to show off. Fang Fan silently raised his head, looked at the purple sky in the sky, and then grinned. Divine system of the strongest card supplier in the end times, Doomsday strongest card supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 1220. Punish. Does it exist? Why does Mao think this so-called Wanbao Lake true spirit is so soft? There was indeed an energy sweep just now, but as soon as it touched Fang Fan, it was directly blocked back. Want to keep infiltrating? The antivirus system is automatically activated, and everything is dissatisfied. Are there any surprises in this situation? The situation is that simple. The purple sky in the sky began to dissipate gradually, and Fang Fan never received any punishment from beginning to end. After verification, it is a false accusation. Severe punishment. Mutilation. Swoosh swish. Suddenly a purple light flickered, and the figure of a divine general appeared in front of Jianming. Before he could react, his hands were cut off. The scene is especially bloody. This. Impossible. How so? Ah, don't, Fang Fan really cheated. He should be punished. Don't do this to me, don't, I don't want to die, I really don't want to die. Jianming let out a Hessian roar, and the sense of panic was extraordinarily real. Of course, in the end, he didn't really die, he just broke his arms lightly. Pain. The pain caused Jianming to faint instantly, and the whole body also trembled wildly, and the eyes looking at Fang Fan were full of resentment and killing. Damn it! Asshole! All of this, he persecuted. Jianming silently took out a king-level healing card, and then took a deep breath. Fortunately, I was already prepared. It was almost really cold. This healing card is really a fetish. There should be more auctions at that time. Jianming gritted his teeth and said with regret. But now I don't have the chance. He has only seen this kind of card at the auction of the Tianyu Chamber of Commerce, and he has also inquired about the origin of these cards, but there is no trace at all. Although the injury has recovered temporarily, this sense of shame makes Jianming feel resentment from the bottom of his heart. Especially the disdainful eyes of those people around him looking at him. Cheating? This is also cheating? This sword life is also the young palace master of Tianjian Palace. Why is the jealousy so strong? How can you just wrong Fang Fan? Hey, seeing Weazi, from this aspect, I also know his character. Tisk tisk tisk, this time I really saw it through. Who said it wasn't? It turned out to be such a person, really. Haha, being punished by the real spirit of Wanbao Lake, it seems that you are still arrogant. Arrogant? Where did he get the capital to be arrogant? It would be nice if he didn't die. If it weren't for that kind of emperor-level healing card, the current young palace master of Tianjian Palace is already a cripple. That's right, you can't live by committing sins. Huh, are the faces of those who said that Fang Fan cheated with a real hammer, their faces were swollen. Brother, it seems that you also said that Fang Fan is cold. Me? Really? Really? Impossible. A laughing stock, a burst of laughter followed. Fang Fan also smiled slightly, but unfortunately, this time the Wanbao Lake True Spirit's punishment is not enough. If he directly cut off his head, it would save him a lot of trouble. But it's not a bad thing. When the trip to the sword tomb is over and the level of the divine sword obtained is compared, the loser will naturally kneel and commit suicide, and there may be a good show at that time.